indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Aldermen meeting. We're going to start by taking a roll call. Clerk Heck.
So, Alderman Garuso, I do believe you're
Present.
here.
Present.
Alderman Humphrey.
Present.
Hello, Melinda. Alderwoman Ryan.
Present.
She's here. Alderman Attore.
Here.
Alderman Talbot.
Present.
Yeah. Alderman Mattis.
Here.
Alderman Gilman.
Present.
Alderman DePoy. Alderman,
Here.
Actually Clifford. Let's go with Clifford too.
Here.
Thank you. And Alderwoman Davis.
Here.
We're all good to go.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. And again, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you're not speaking and you're on the call, please mute your mic. It helps reduce feedback and allows us to hear each other. And then just a simple reminder that if any vote ends up not being unanimous, we have to do a roll call vote. And that's what we've been doing for the past few meetings. So moving on, looking at the previous minutes.
Move to approve. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and it's been seconded. Is there any changes to the minutes? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the previous meeting's minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Point of order,
We are,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Could we please ask the callers to identify themselves so we know who was on the line?
oh, certainly, Alderwoman Davis.
One of them is me, Alderman Humphrey.
Okay. So, real quickly, one of the callers is Alderwoman Humphrey. She's using a phone. One of the callers is myself. You can see me, but I'm talking through my phone. And then if we could go through, I believe, Brennan Duffy, you're one of the callers?
No, I'm on computer here.
Oh, you're on computer? Perfect. Oh, yep, I see that.
BD.
Steve Peters, are you one of the callers?
Yes.
All right, that takes care of three.
Matt, it's Mary Markowski. I am one of the callers, too. I'm on the computer and one of the callers.
Thank you. So that leaves one unidentified caller.
And guess who? It's the mayor. The mayor is on the phone here. One of the callers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. So moving on, outside the rail. Is there anyone from outside the rail to address the board? Hearing none. Moving on to communications from the mayor. Mayor Allaire.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I only have one quick thing I wanted to touch on tonight. 2 weeks ago, the board took some action with regards to granting some relief to property taxpayers at the May 15th collection date. Your action was to waive 10-day for a 10-day period after May 15th for those who would be paying late from the property taxes, contingent on the S-344 being signed. Unfortunately, what happened was, and I followed this along with Senator Collimore for the 2-week period, the bill actually never got signed until the day before the collection date. So it got signed last Thursday on the 14th. So there was not a whole lot of time to communicate again to the property taxpayers that that indeed was in place. but I've had a discussion with Mary, and the board had taken that action. And so obviously we're going to honor that that action that was taken. So anyone that's going to be coming in paying during that 10-day period will not be subject to penalties and interest if their property tax payments are late. So that would be the 15th through the 25th of May. So hopefully, and I believe, again, having a discussion with Mary earlier, that there's going to be several people that this is going to help. There's going to be several people that this helps out. So that's all I have.
Real quick before I ask for any questions, I believe a caller just arrived. Could you, one, potentially identify yourself, and two, please mute your phone?
Sorry, Matt, that was me because my internet's unstable, so I had to call in.
Okay, so perfect. Alderwoman Ryan is on the phone, and she's via video. Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any follow-up questions for Mayor Allaire? I am hearing and seeing none. Thank you, everyone. We are on to additions and deletions to the agenda. We have a couple. First, Steve Peters from the Downtown Partnership. You should have received an email from me earlier with some information regarding a proposal he would like to discuss with us briefly, and then possibly have referred to committee regarding what plan for downtown businesses. If we could, I'd like to ask that we add that under new business.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Is there any debate on that issue? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next, we have an executive session request regarding the acquisition of the College of St. Joseph Gymnasium. Like to add that at the very end of the agenda, if we could, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And then one slight alteration to the agenda, just due to the order in which it probably makes the most sense. Brennan Duffy is on to speak to us about both BIAP recommendations and the downtown hotel update. I would ask that we move the BIAP recommendations to following Alderwoman's report on BIAP review and emergency loan provision. Grouped together, they may make more contextual sense.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. Up first, we have Treasurer Markowski, April's Treasurer's Report, and that should have been emailed to you earlier this afternoon. Treasurer Markowski?
Thank you. I'll get started first to outline the fourth quarter status of the fourth quarter tax installment collection. And I reported that as of this afternoon, we had collected, most of it, but I'm looking at the delinquent balance of still past due to be collected, $954,000. That represents 11.6 of the total billed for the quarter. I did compare that to last year, same time, and last year on same date, we were still just waiting on 5% of that fourth quarter installment. So you can see quite a bit of difference this year from last year to this year, but we still anticipate, we have the 10-day grace period, and we still anticipate some collections, throughout this week. had a lot of conversation with taxpayers that were happy about the grace period, so thank you for that, and making payments that, as they can. So I just wanted to add that. In the financial reports, I had highlighted some items that I just wanted you to see on the balance sheet: the taxes due, the delinquent balances, and the balance due to the school. I usually pay that. I really wait to the 21st day to pay that to the school. Did anyone have any questions on the collections? Okay. Cash balances are 11.6 million in cash accounts. All of the funds have cash with the exception of the sewer fund and the transit fund. Moving on to the delinquent report. When you're looking at the April delinquent report, just think the FY20 taxes are now considered delinquent reclassified. So we're going to add to that 1.25 million. If we were to do it today, we're going to add another 1.4 million to that number. So that delinquent balance overall is very high, and that's what's going to impact when we go to do year-end adjustments that are going to impact our unassigned fund balance. Moving on to the unassigned fund balance has remained about steady at 2 million. So we'll continue to watch that. Income and expenses, end of April, pretty much on target in the funds. Also noting that water and sewer fund, I know we've spoken of it before, the revenues in those funds are lagging for the period reported. Parking fund, also revenue lagging. Transit fund actually is revenues over expenses through March. The RRA balance sheet. RRA is working, we monitor this monthly at the RRA level, watching cash and what's in there. And of note, I like to note that there's 81,000 in the RRA assigned to special projects, business development in there. Any questions on the report? Did anyone have anything specific? I tried to highlight a few things. We had added an expense line for COVID-19. So if you want to watch that to see what extra expenses the city has had, that was in general government, I believe. So then I just noted that the tax rate is going to be a real challenge this year. We've already begun the process of looking at it. And I'm not really sure, to be honest, what we can do about a budget that's been voter approved. But in saying that, the mayor has asked department heads to really look at the current year, what we can do for savings in FY21. What is in the FY21 budget that maybe we can offset and maybe provide a little bit of taxpayer relief? I'm not sure how we do that, but we need to find creative ways to help to offset the tax rate in FY21. And I think we've all heard of a potential increase in education taxes. So that's going to create an even bigger challenge. Any questions?
Alderman Attari.
Just quickly, Mary, so you said the delinquencies will end up affecting the unassigned fund balance. Is that because we just won't have the revenues to pay the invoices that we're having coming in? Is that how that affects that unassigned fund balance?
Well, we do adjustments at the end of the year to adjust for that increase, so it'll reduce the revenue. We report the revenue as 100% collectible. We'll do an adjustment at year end to reduce that revenue, so that's going to impact our unassigned fund balance.
So you're going to pull it from there, I see.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Treasurer Markowski?
I guess just if I can, is there anything that we can do to support you as we go through this? Is there anything that you need, board action on or approval, or is there any reason is there anything that we can do, whether that's through finance committee or through this board, to try to navigate this, or are we just kind of, taking one step in front of the other and following your lead?
We are definitely taking it one step at a time. I'm really cautious with this, working with the mayor, reached out to the city attorney, how do we work with the budget that's been approved, knowing that, the budget was approved and then all of a sudden we're hit with COVID-19. This is all new for everyone. And you see other towns making some steps, reducing their budgets. So I'm not sure how we do that, but I think that we have to start looking at that way of what things could we potentially, savings that we could see in next year to help the taxpayers.
Alderwoman Davis. Oh, take yourself off mute, Alderwoman Davis.
Sorry, I thought I had done that. My apologies. I'm not sure if this is more appropriate for David or Mary or the city attorney, but I agree that we have an approved budget, but it's also an estimated budget. And we know that with the taxpayers that it's an estimated budget. So I'm not sure if that gives us any flexibility in saying, not doing X project that was in the budget or X this that was in the budget. But I'm sure you're looking at it all, but I think the term estimate may give us some flexibility.
Well, I'm looking at every single opportunity I can to save in the FY21 budget, and the legalities and what we can do and we can't do is probably a little over my pay grade, but other communities are shaving their budgets and coming up with less spending. I don't think there's any reason why the city of Rutland can't either. And my hope would be that if there's some sort of charter provision or some other requirement that's going to put a damper on that we can get some relief from the state, or at least navigate a way to get through that, because that exercise would be futile if we can't do it. So we're saving every penny we can in this year's budget. We only got a month and a half left, and I've asked everybody to come back by Friday, the department heads, to provide me with what they think they can get away with next year. Just the critical expenses for the health and safety of the city and their operation, and show me what you can do without. So that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm going to be seeing at the end of the week.
Alderman Garuso.
I just want to commend the treasurer and the mayor. That's music to my ears. Taking people's homes or whatever would happen, and the city not being fiscally responsible would be a very dangerous thing. And that's what we need to do. Other towns are cutting back, and I think that that's a great thing that you guys are doing. And you just have to tell the department heads that, they're going to have to work their best to cut back, because we don't know what's ahead of us. And they're just predicting a lot of companies are not going to be at full speed ahead here and full capacity for a little while. And I commend you guys. I really do. And I thank you for it, because I just, I hope it's not that bad. I hope everything's back to 100 miles an hour when it's over. But the people smarter than me are predicting it's going to be tough. So I thank you guys, and please, department heads, if you could work along with us, or work along with you guys, it'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions for Treasurer Markowski? Treasurer Markowski, you have anything else to add?
No, I'm all set, but I appreciate if anyone has questions, please reach out. if there's something that you have as a plan that you think we should meet, please reach out to me, because this is all new for all of us, and I appreciate all of your input. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, Public Works Commissioner Wennberg, Brook Modification Project. That's pages 1 through 3 in your packet. Commissioner Wennberg, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, you folks can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So the members who've been on the board for several terms, and believe me, this goes back several terms, will recall the origins of this whole Moonbrook, Combination Pond, Piedmont Pond effort. And the memo kind of in one paragraph summarizes what somebody, it could be actually a multi-chapter book, I think, about the history of this thing. But in any event, we have made some progress, slowly but positively. And we are now at a point where it looks as though this project, which will involve dredging both ponds, lowering the water level 2 feet in both ponds, which will shrink the size of the ponds a little bit, and planting around the perimeters of the ponds various, according to a specific plan, trees and shrubs to shade the edges. That there is modeling that's been done by the Agency of Natural Resources that shows that that approach will give us the temperature benefits, reduce the temperatures of the water going through the ponds, so that the temperature regime in the stream, which is what we're trying to accomplish here, will meet the requirements. That in turn should allow bugs and fish to come back of the appropriate types and contribute to getting Moonbrook and Muzzy Brook off the impaired list, which is our ultimate goal. There are stormwater issues there as well, and those are being dealt with separately, but the principal thing is the temperature. What we've done, and I've given you folks some kind of heads up over the months and years in recent past, is the development of plans through a public process that was paid for by the agency, that involved a big public process so that the neighbors could have a lot of say over what the outcome would be, and hopefully would have buy-in to avoid conflicts, litigation, those kinds of things, so that the project could proceed. That worked, I think, with a high degree of success. So we have the agency, the city, and the neighbors essentially on the same page. And we're now finally, after decades, literally, at the point where we're looking at actually getting some improvements made. The good news, if that isn't enough, is that there appears to be, and certainly seems to be, an opportunity to get all of this done at no cost to the local taxpayers. The project will be between $1.3 and $1.8 million. 1.3 million is the estimate of our consultants. 1.8 million is the estimate of the Army Corps of Engineers, who we expect will be basically managing the project and paying the lion's share of the cost. They have a program which is outlined in the memo that they have approved us for. They are preparing actually we've received a draft of a contract with them, which we will negotiate for them to assume that responsibility and the cost associated with it. This program, however, requires a 35% local match. And and by the way, the 1.8 million is when you add all the Army Corps of Engineers costs. The local match, however, can be provided, again, at no additional cost to Rutland City taxpayers through a brand new program that the agency has created, the acronym for which is WHISPER. It's not a secret, but nonetheless, that's the acronym. And that program allows us to borrow up to 10% over and above what we were borrowing through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for our wastewater projects that were bonded for 2 years ago, or approved by the voters 2 years ago, and one of which is physically underway. So that's the force main project for the wastewater treatment plant, the digester project for the wastewater treatment plant, and the Northwest Neighborhood Sewer Separation Project extension phase 1A that's in the vicinity of the intermediate school. If you look at the borrowing that those projects will require and already approved, 10% of that is around $660,000. The match that's required is around, I'm not gonna look at my memo here to get it, but it's 630,000, something like that. So there is a little more money in the WHISPER program than we expect to be required for the match. This project, this WHISPER funding, which is for natural resource restoration projects, the Moonbrook, Muzzy Brook, Combination Pond, Piedmont Pond project will be the very first one funded under this program in the state. So that's scary in the sense that we're making it up as we go along with the state. It's good in the sense that when they are faced with decisions, okay, nobody's ever asked that question before, how do we answer it? Hopefully it will be answered to the favor of the city of Rutland, because we're the only thing on their plate right now. So it may take a little longer to work through it because of those issues, but I think we're in a very advantageous position to make sure that decisions are made to the benefit of this project and of the city. Anyway, the point that we are requesting right now, and there will be more to follow, is the approval of the grant applicant. Actually, it's a loan that functions like a grant. The loan application for the WHISPER funding for this project, which has been prepared, reviewed by the state, and has been provided to you. I don't know if it was in the packet or separate from the packet, but you've received it. And under the circumstances of the way you're conducting meetings now, the requirement is, or the request is, to pass a resolution which authorizes the mayor to sign on your behalf, as opposed to circulating for signatures, which is rather difficult to do virtually. So that's it in a nutshell. There is no bad news in here. It's all good news. The things that remain, just so that you give a heads up of what will be coming down the pipe, is first of all, an amendment to our consultant's contract to go from the planning to the project management phase, which would be paid for with these funds, if approved by you folks and the state, which they've technically already approved them, but not officially. We are going to need a contract with the Army Corps of Engineers, which, as I said, is just now beginning to be negotiated, and that will take a little while. I don't expect that one in a meeting or two. And then the last thing is Combination Pond and the areas around it are completely owned by the city by gift from the previous owner. Piedmont Pond is owned privately, and we are going to have to acquire that in order for the Corps of Engineers to do this. The owner of the pond has offered it to the city under the same terms, basically a buck, as Combination Pond. But we are also going to have to acquire at least the rights to plant bushes and trees on some of the surrounding private property that's owned by abutters. So the city attorney is working on that now, and we will be approaching the abutters to discuss with them the need for a little more land around the edge of the water in order to get easements so that we can install and maintain those plants as part of this project. So those easements, the pond itself, those things will be coming in the weeks and months ahead.
Alderman Clifford.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, thank you. Your memo, like you were stating before, says about the in-kind activities. Can you give us a sense at what kind of in-kind activities that would be?
Well, it could be anything from project coordination and management on the part of the engineering office or the commissioner's office or any of the any of the supervisory staff. There are going to be some requirements. For example, a water main has to be either replaced or actually relocated. That's something that our crews could do if need be. There are several aspects of the project that are in our wheelhouse for doing some of that work with our crews. Whether we do them or whether it's part of a bid project may turn out to be decided once we see what the bids are and whether or not it fits within the dollars available. And then perhaps we take some of those tasks on. It's very early I mean, we're way ahead of ourselves on this, but anything that we do, either administratively or actually construction physically, that we keep track of as part of this project and not as part of our normal budgeted work, all of that qualifies as in-kind contributions toward the match.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Commissioner Wennberg? Alderman Garuso.
Yeah, just a question. I guess this resolution is going to become obviously something to authorize the mayor to sign. I just never, I don't know, maybe I haven't been around it in a while. It says to the alderman hereby designate James Rotundo, PE, city engineer. Why can't they just say designate the city engineer and you can contact at whatever? I mean, you said it's going to be a long-term thing. I mean, does this mean that he will be the contact and then we'll have to make a motion to change the name or something later on, or you just say the city engineer? I know I've seen things in the past, city attorney or the mayor or whatever, without a name beside it. Just, I'm not trying to be picky. I don't even know James Rotundo. I don't know if he knocked at my door, but I didn't think it was right to have a name in there. I didn't think it was, in my opinion. Thought I'd throw that out there if it's important or not, necessary or not.
Well, Alderman, I'd be happy to do an introduction, but the answer to that is the state requires under these Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan applications, and again, this is a loan that becomes a grant. They require the identification of a specific individual with contact information. If there was a decision made to have that lead contact person someone else, then we'd have to go back to the board and authorize, just like we're asking you to do here. We'd have to ask you to change that person, but that can be done by a resolution of the board at any time.
All I'm asking, thank you, just to save time, but thank you very much.
Any other questions for Commissioner Wennberg?
Would he like a motion to authorize the mayor to sign on the city's behalf? Just now it's
I believe so, Alderman Garuso. But we need to suspend the rules first.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules and it has been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Garuso.
I will move that we authorize the mayor to sign the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation whisper application on our behalf and the city's behalf.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Is there any further debate or discussion on the issue? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Wennberg. Anything else for us?
No, thank you. Thank you very much. And Sam, I'll be in touch and we'll figure out a way to introduce you to the city engineer. You guys will get along famously, I'm sure.
Well, that would be nice. The other thing I want to offer is my parents' house was the farmhouse for Combination Pond. I grew up there and was there every day when they dredged it back in the 60s. I know I was there when the spillway was put in. I know it's a cement wall in front. It's covered with dirt, but there's a concrete wall in there. No one knows Combination Pond better than me. So if anything I can help you, I would be more than glad to offer.
We will be in touch.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Wennberg. Moving on, Brennan Duffy, RRA. downtown hotel update for right now.
Great. Good evening, everyone. So as I wrote in the memo that came out in the board packet, I had the unfortunate obligation of informing the city and the mayor, the board of aldermen, and the RA board that our hotel project at the Berwick site is kind of off the rails at this point, due in large part to the COVID-19 issues that we're all facing and the impact that's had on the economy and on most speculative investment going on, and particularly in the hospitality sector, which has been really hard hit by this. So DEW has made the decision at this point they are not going to be pursuing that any further. So as I mentioned, we were probably as close as we'd ever been about a year ago. We had the developer, we had a site under contract, we had some financing pieces that still needed to fall into place, and those missed at the end of the summer. So we kind of went into a dormant status again, waiting for the next round of tax credits with DEW. And in the meantime, we came into the middle of March here, and the COVID pandemic has again kind of changed the landscape of investment going on right now all over the world, probably. So unfortunately, that's the message. I wanted to let everybody know that and be very transparent that that setback is what we're facing. I know we've all spent a lot of time and effort to get to where we were a year ago with DEW and on that site, and I know we will continue to do so. In my opinion, trying to gain some type of site control over the Berwick property is probably the best thing we can do in the short term. And so we're going to have some discussions about how, different paths that we could take towards that at the RA, and come back to the administration and the board and others and talk about, ways that we might be able to do that. And so I had asked that this get referred to a committee so that we're ready for that when those facts and information is ready for further discussion. And I guess I'm happy to answer questions about it. I don't know that there's a whole lot of more detail I can provide than that the developer was kind of pulled out.
Alderman Garuso?
Yes, Brennan, I look forward to this going to committee. In 1994, my headline was that I viewed a hotel as important to downtown. Back in the 70s, I worked at the Bardwell, and every business in downtown benefited from the hotel, the ski parties and whatever. Every restaurant, you would meet these people in, you'd see them in the stores, and it is a big blow to Rutland to lose that opportunity. But I was just under some impression, and I don't know where I picked it up, that there was a grant that DEW was working with. Do you know what happened to that, or could some other developer pick that up? Or maybe I just dreamt it. Do you know anything about, there was some money on the table somehow that they were going to have to help boost us along?
Correct. Yeah, it was not necessarily a grant, but they were looking for new market tax credits that would help the financial piece of this. They felt without those, they couldn't finance this through private channels, so they needed some federal assistance. And that was what missed last year. They had some timing constraints that they needed to have the property under contract and deal in place before they would be formally notified whether they had those credits. And they were not able to do that. So they basically, like I said, went into a holding pattern there, waiting for the next allocation round. So that's, I think, what you're thinking of. And those are still available, although you need a developer and a project to put that, put those puzzle pieces back together.
All right, well, I was just asking, and I look forward to it in committee because, like I said, the people couldn't imagine what the impacts were of the Bardwell Hotel and the weddings and the parties and meetings and again, just the people that, I would go out and see throughout the different businesses and shopping at the stores. It'd be a wonderful addition to downtown, and I still would like to see it. So hopefully, we go to committee with this and maybe we can pull something out of our hats with it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Alderwoman Davis?
I'll move to refer to Community and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
We have a motion that's been seconded to refer to Community and Economic Development Committee. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brennan, and we will be getting back to you shortly for the BIAP piece. All right, moving on. We're on to reports of standing committees. Alderwoman Ryan, Committee on Economic Development. First up, we have review of business proposals, and this would have been sent to each of you via email on Saturday morning.
Can you hear me okay? Am I echoing?
Can hear you.
All right, great. So the Community and Economic Development Committee met virtually on May 7th, 2020 to review the business proposal submitted to the board by Donald Billings to determine a process to streamline proposals and to discuss and plan street and sidewalk expansion as it relates to the business proposals. Committee members present were myself, the chair, Alderman Sharon Davis, vice chair, Christy Torrey, Sam Garuso, and Michael Talbot. Alderman present were President Matt Whitcomb, Alderman Clifford, Humphrey, and Mattis. Others present were Treasurer Markowski, RRA, ED, Brennan Duffy, City Attorney Bloomer, Mayor Lair, Rutland City Police Chief Brian Kilcullen, Rutland City Fire Department Chief Bill Lovett, Tim Peters from the Rex office, Steve Peters, Executive Director of the DRP, and Donald Billing, owners of Roots Restaurant. Sorry, hang on one second. The meeting started at 5:31 p.m. Brennan started the meeting explaining the history of the BIAP to where it is now in FY20.
Alderwoman Ryan, I think you might be on the other report.
I have two very similar reports in front of me. My apologies.
That's okay.
All right, the meeting began at 5:30. Steve Peters started off the meeting talking about some of the business owners' ideas and concerns regarding the functionality of opening back up safely while adhering to social distancing precautions. Some ideas shared were having designated parking spots for to-go or takeout options, having reduced or discounted rate for the parking garage, and having free street parking. As it pertained to utilizing designated parking spaces for seating, business owners were concerned with how the layout would be properly constructed, the level of noise that could cause disruption while dining, cleanliness, and overall not being a reliable option for seating. There was also some discussion about closing Center Street either on occasion or on the weekends. Steve stated that everyone will be doing things differently and ideas will need to be tested out. He asked that the city be flexible with businesses and consider a process that is clear and easy for businesses to navigate through as decisions are made. Alderman Davis asked if businesses will have a plan for permitting, etc. There was a lot of discussion around parking. Alderman Garuso proposed that all parking fees be expelled, and Steve said that the businesses would appreciate that, although there were some concern with businesses parking in spots all day. Regarding designated parking spots for patrons, Chief Kilcullen said that we practically have that now, and asked if merchants were looking for something more long-term, in which Steve responded yes. Alderman Clifford asked Treasurer Markowski about parking revenues. Treasurer Markowski stated that the last parking tickets issued were on March 11th and that the kiosks were averaging about $4 per week. Mayor Lair said his office was supportive in finding a way that is possible for restaurants to operate, even if it was pilot-based at first, and then go from there in order to determine a happy medium. Alderman Davis encouraged Steve that whatever the proposals were, the board would support. Further, she stated that every restaurant and business needs to look at their property and decide what they want. Neighbors need to work together. Rooms and meals tax was a necessary advantage. Alderman Torrey said what works for one business will not work for another, and that the board needs to get out of the way but offer support and resources. He asked if there were ways to support businesses and maximize programs. He said that the board needs to help lead and market. Alderman Torrey stated that Tara Kelly needs to be included in this process. Donald stated that in his proposal, he was not trying to dictate what people do, but offer some options and guidance, such as having parklets or dining pods. He said that Roots thought things through, how to utilize more space, maximize seating, and thought long-term when they moved into a new space. Donald said he was going to push hard and that capitalizing over the next 3 months was important. Alderman Grusso commended Donald. Chief Lovett and Chief Kilcullen both appreciated Donald's proposal for Roots and had no issues with it. Alderman Davis advocated for the green space in Center Street Park to be shared by abutting properties. The committee agreed that business owners in the Downtown Rutland Partnership need to put in the work and establish their plans. Businesses wanting to help should submit specific proposals so the city could best determine what is needed to make it happen and how to help. The board will be supportive and approve it and help market them. This report was for information only, and the meeting adjourned at 6:27 p.m.
Thank you, Alderwoman Ryan. Any questions?
So, Matt, I have one.
Alderman DePoy.
Don't we have something from Steve Peters going to be talking on the issue of the parking and having the spots along for restaurants for like curbside pickup and stuff? Isn't that part of our meeting tonight?
Can I move your bed, please?
Or no?
Yes, that is true. Under new business, we will be looking at something Steve Peters has worked with some businesses on. Proposal regarding parking and designated spaces.
Okay. All right. I just think I don't know if you want to combine that with this now so that you know, we're kind of talking about that same exact issue, the curbside pickups at the restaurants, and that's part of Lisa's report here. So
I mean, I have no actual issue if we want to move this, but Steve, if you're on the call, maybe you could weigh in to a degree of how much your proposal intersects with what Alderwoman Ryan just reported out on.
Hi. Yeah, so it's kind of just an update and a proposal from us on one idea. So I'm happy to talk about that now if you'd like me to.
If there's no objection, we might as well do it now. It fits together with this. Yeah, Steve, go ahead. Let us know what you've done with the parking issue.
All right, thank you. So when we were talking with businesses, we heard a common practice that they'll be doing, both restaurants and retail, and they've already been doing this, is relying on pickups, curbside service, quick interactions with customers. Also, we know that the number of people who will be allowed in businesses is limited. So it's going to be really important that people can get to businesses quickly, pick up what they need to, and kind of go. So one idea that we had was to designate 8 spaces throughout downtown that would be strictly for pickup or curbside service. Rather than tie these to specific businesses, we looked at where we could locate them that might benefit multiple businesses, since everyone operates at different times and has different customers coming and going. So I believe it was sent out a map. We proposed some different locations. We were thinking that we could attach some temporary signage to the already existing light poles. So that way, you know, nothing new needs to go in. We could cover the cost of having these signs created and then attach them pretty easily to the poles. So it was just a matter of lining up spaces that made sense, where there's also a light pole where the sign could go. we realized that it would be pretty hard to actually enforce the time limits on these spaces, but just hoping that people would be honest and, realize that everyone's trying to, make the most of our current situation. So we don't need anything to make this happen aside from your approval, I guess.
Alderwoman Davis?
And I think sorry.
I don't know if Steve wants to finish his thought process. I'm glad to wait.
Sorry, I was just going to say a depiction of what the sign could look like also should have gone out to all of you as well.
Yes, we did get the map and the sign. I have no objection to any of that. I just have another question. That takes care of some of the curbside pickup issues, but how are we addressing trying to reach capacity within the restaurants, whether with indoor and outdoor seating?
So that's going to have to be on a case-by-case basis right now. I have heard from one restaurant that would like to expand their already existing outdoor dining, but we are also looking at some ideas for Center Street and working with Brennan and the Planning Commission to see what ideas we can put together that would benefit the community at large, as well as businesses. But I don't have anything on that yet for you.
If I may, with a follow-up question. So,
go ahead.
Steve or Brennan, do we have, I guess my first question is why the Planning Commission? I don't understand that connection for downtown, for closing up a street or that. But the second one is, I anticipate that the restaurants will be starting to open. Do we have any time frame that we're going to try to? I know it's case by case. I think we've all said that each individual business has to look at their property and see what is going to be beneficial and how does it affect them and their neighbor. So everybody's doing business that they can. But so do we have any idea what time frame is that you'll see some kind of a plan?
So I'm on here too. This is Brennan. So Sharon, I'll just speak to the question about the Center Street concepts. So I had sent out something that had come out of the strategic plan that was looking at a one-way configuration with expanded seating on either side being, allowed. And the Planning Commission is the regional Planning Commission, not the city. They reached out to us and have a traffic planner, and they've talked about different concepts in the past. So they were very interested in, providing some other ideas. So we weren't just talking about one-way concept. They were thinking there could be other ways that could work that would accomplish the same goals that might not require one way. So what we're talking about with timing there is that they were going to spend the week working on some of those concepts and sketching them out. My guess is following the holiday weekend here, we will, have some more substantive discussion about what that could look like. Try to engage some of the business owners and property owners along that block and talk to them about what they'd like to see, and then probably come back in late May or early June with something that we would propose as a summer concept for that area.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't know that we have any real guidance on restaurants and when they're going to be allowed to open up right now. I think that's been talked about at the state level, but I haven't heard anything, giving a date for restaurant seating yet.
Alderman Garuso?
Yes, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I would support this if we make a motion here tonight for the 8-10-minute parking spaces. I've said in committee and I've said before, I worked at WJGR for many years and was downtown. I was president of Marble Valley Transit and signed the agreement to build the transit center. And I've never seen a study that didn't say those parking spaces are very, very important to those businesses on Center Street. So I hope this is like a baby step, because I really think we got to be careful with those downtown. And I roughly drove through and counted 40. And if I remember that, you guys may know this better than me, Brennan and Mr. Peters, they're like 10 to 15 times they turn over in a day. So we're talking ostensibly 400 to 500 parking spots on Center Street if we turn them over. And this idea of 10-minute parking may prove to be perfect for that. But we got to be careful what we do, because many of the studies we've had done in Rutland said that we don't have the downtown traffic like Burlington that has St. Michael's College and University of Vermont. We have to have a card deposited when people come to Rutland. And that's why the transit center was easy to build, because they do have to deposit a car, and we didn't have enough parking. Some of the others may remember when we were going to do the plaza, we had to meter all the way up Court Street just to prove to Act 250 that we had what they call controlled parking. So I like this. It's a baby step. Not going to tie up, take away any spots. I think it's going to be a great motion. And then, like we've all talked about, and the treasurer earlier, no one knows where we're going to be a month from now, 2 months from now, or whatever. It's a whole new area we aren't in. But this is kind of a cool idea. 8 10-minute parking spots for quick pickup is curbside only is a great idea, in my opinion. And I really support that. And I thank you guys for coming up with it.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Alderman DePoy?
So do you need a motion to suspend the rules so that we can actually take that issue up to vote on tonight?
Yes, we do.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to suspend the rules, and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
And I'll make the motion to approve Steve Peters' plan for the 8 spots located strategically around downtown for curbside pickup.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I asked Alderman DePort if he would include the signage as well.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. It's been seconded to allow for Steve Peters and the Downtown Partnership to designate 8 spots with appropriate signage strategically. It's been seconded. Is there any debate? Alderman Garuso.
Yeah, just a question. I never caught that. It says to provide 8 10-minute parking spaces, but the sign says 15 minutes. What are we approving? 10 or 15? I'm in. I don't care. What do you guys want?
I think 10 is fine, Mr. Chairman. I doubt anyone's going to get ticketed if they're there 15.
So then if you'll, I guess, amend your motion to 8 10-minute parking spaces throughout the downtown. Excellent.
So moved.
No second.
All right, so we have an amended motion. Bert? Okay. Question for you, Steve Peters, is those signs aren't ordered or anything, you could easily adjust it from 15 to 10 minutes?
Yes, I could, and sorry about that.
No problem. Alderwoman Humphrey?
I was just gonna ask Steve, was he requesting 10 or 15? Because I'm good with either, and like he said in his memo, they're not going to be strictly enforced. It's going to be more of an honor system, just to give people the idea, the gist of like this is what we're doing with it.
I think 10 is fine. It should be sufficient.
Alderman Gillum?
You're only requesting 8. What happens if he needs more? Are we tying him up so we give him the opportunity to do more if he needs more? That's just a question of Mr. Peters.
I thought 8 was a good starting point. I think we can assess how it goes, and if we need more, maybe I can come back and request that from you.
My point is, I don't want you to come back. I just want you to have the ability to do more if you need to do more. You know what I'm saying? Time is everything here. I don't want to wait 2 weeks to get something done.
Thank you. That's a good point.
Should there be an amendment on there to allow him to do more if he needs to do more? I'm suggesting.
So Alderman Gillum is suggesting potential amendment. What's the board's pleasure as far as this goes? Alderman Garuso.
I'm fine with the 8 for now. Like I said earlier, it's a step. It's a slow step in the direction. The restaurants are going to be slow. We're slowly starting up, waking up. I don't see any problem with 8. And then the problem they're going to have is as it's been said about downtown, you can have 15 businesses wanting 18 different things. So he doesn't need to be, faced with that and faced with those decisions. This deck or that spot, this spot, I think that would be us that would gladly help him out. But I think we're fine. Like I said, I'll call it baby steps. 8 10-minute spots is fine if the motion maker is fine with that too.
All right, so it appears, Alderwoman Davis?
I think, I don't disagree with Bill's point, but I'm hopeful that we don't have to go any more than 8, that we start to see the restaurants open and outside dining starting to occur with the inside dining. So it's not just curbside, that the restaurants are able to look toward just a greater capacity. So I'm hopeful that that's the side of the plan that we're going to be pushing and putting into place.
All right, so we have a motion that's been seconded to allow the downtown partnership to strategically designate 8 parking areas with a 10-minute duration. Is there any further debate on this issue? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, we are now on to Alderwoman Ryan's second report, BIAP review and emergency loan provision.
Can everyone hear me? The Community and Economic Development Committee met virtually on May 12, 2020 to review the BIAP and emergency loan provision. Committee members present were myself, Chair, Alderman Sharon Davis, Vice Chair, Chrissy Torrey, Sam Grusso, and Michael Talbot. Aldermen present were President Matt Whitcomb, Alderman Clifford, DePoy, and Mattis. Others present were Brennan Duffy from the RRA, Treasurer Markowski, RRA Grant Administrator Barbara Spalding, and Chief Bill Lovett from the Rutland City Fire Department. The meeting started at 5:31 p.m. Brennan started the meeting explaining the history of the BIAP to where it is now in FY20. Treasurer Markowski stated that the current balance of the BIAP is $101,000. At the start of FY21, $80,000 will go into the BIAP and $80,000 will go into the general fund. Brennan said that the RA feels that the $80,000 that goes into the BIAP remain in there for business assistance due to the uncertainty of what next year will bring. Alderman Torrey agreed with Brennan to keep the money in the BIAP fund at the end of the fiscal year. A motion was made by Alderman Davis to continue the BIAP as it currently exists and to revisit it prior to the end of FY21. Motion passed 5-0 and I so move. A second motion was made by Alderman Davis was for the city to continue the BIAP revolving loan fund agreement with Heritage Family Credit Union. Motion passed 5-0 and I so move. In the third round of the emergency loan provision, there were 4 applicants. The RRA.
I'm sorry, hold on a second, Alderwoman Ryan. I was on mute talking. I was going to ask if we could take the motions as they came. So we have the first motion. I'm sorry, I was speaking on mute, but can we take the motions as you present them?
Sure.
So we have the first. Nope, it's okay. So we have the first motion that to continue the BIAP as it currently exists and to revisit it prior to the end of fiscal year 21. And Alderwoman Ryan moved it.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on keeping the BIAP as it exists? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. The second motion that came out was for the city to continue the BIAP revolving loan fund agreement with Heritage Family Credit Union. Alderwoman Ryan moved that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and has been seconded. Is there any debate? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, I apologize, Alderwoman Ryan. Continue on.
In the third round of the emergency loan provision, there were 4 applicants. The RRA stated not everyone will get awarded the funds at this time because there was enough money in the ELP to fund the 2 remaining applicants, the Sandwich Shop and Phoenix Books, based on the order in which the applicants were received. The RRA suggested that $10,000 be taken out of the BIAP to finish out the funding for the 2 remaining applicants. Further, the additional $10,000 from the BIAP would allow $5,000 to go to the Sandwich Shop and $5,000 to Phoenix Books. Alderman Davis asked that the RRA communicate with the Sandwich Shop and Phoenix Books so that they are clear about the process and timing and understand that they will be allocated the ELP funds. A motion was made by Alderman Garuso to approve funding the ELP with the additional $10,000 from the BIAP. Motion passed 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Is there any debate? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Alderwoman Ryan.
Thanks.
All right, and now would be a good time to segue into Brennan Duffy and the BIAP recommendations.
Great, thank you very much. So in the memo that I had provided, I mentioned that the RA was able to review and make recommendations for 2 of the applicants. We actually had 1 applicant that had submitted but withdrew prior to review. So just to be clear, we have Tasso on center, and the RRA is recommending a $5,000 loan be approved for that business. That was the amount that they had requested. We had the Sandwich Shop, who had initially requested $10,000. Because we did not have that full amount, the recommendation from the RRA board was for $5,000. Now that because of the timing of how this was structured, there is additional funds in play, the RA would recommend that the Sandwich Shop be approved for the full $10,000 that they had requested. And then Phoenix Books was not reviewed because we did not have funds available at that time. But if one of the board members would like to make a motion to approve that for $5,000 tonight, that would alleviate them having to come back in on May 26th for the RA process. It's completely up to you. I did speak with Will Knott, the manager, and he said if the timing doesn't work out tonight, we can do this on the 26th and come back for the first meeting in June. But I just wanted to throw that out there that would speed up the process of them receiving those loan funds as well.
If you'd like, I'll move that item for approval.
Alderman Garuso, just so I'm...
Second.
Alderman Garuso, just so I'm clear, you're moving
I'd like to move. Go ahead.
I just want to be clear that you're moving that we recommend the amount recommended to Tasso, the full amount of $10,000 is requested, but not available at the time to the Sandwich Shop, and the $5,000 to Phoenix Books.
Yes, that is the motion, and if that pleases the double RAM, that's what I'm. That's the motion, please.
Thank you, Alderman Garuso. All right, we have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Alderwoman Maddox.
I'm just going to recuse myself because I'm an employee of Phoenix Books.
Thank you, Alderwoman Maddox. Alderwoman Davis.
Just a question of more informational to me. William Knott, who is the manager, requested the BIAP loan. Who is the owner and owner local?
So Patricia Hubner is at least a partial owner of the business and was the one who signed the application form.
Okay, thank you. And the other owner is, do we know?
Rebecca, do you, I'm not.
Michael DeSanto is also part owner.
And he's located where?
He's located in Essex.
Is there
But
any
I
further
do want to
discussion?
say though that each bookstore is a separate entity. So it would be just for Phoenix Books Rutland. It wouldn't be everything is I don't know what the proper word is, but each bookstore has its own finances.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, just one other quick question, just to make sure. Gate itself has been the owners that are requesting, so curious as to why the owner or part owner of Phoenix Books did not request rather than manager. Is that, I mean, I don't know if that's an issue, but it's just a different process. Usually it's the owner of the entity requesting the loan.
So Alderman Davis, I can probably answer that. We've had a couple of these applications where they were actually completed by a manager of the business. The owners have signed them and signed off that it is their business. So it was really just, I think, Will serving as the conduit to the RA as the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or debate? Before we vote, Attorney Bloomer, procedural question. Do we need to do a roll call knowing that Alderwoman Mattis must recuse herself?
I'm trying to think why we have that rule with the teleconference. I would say no. If you have a unanimous vote without her, you can just go with that and not do a roll call.
Thank you, Attorney Bloomer. All right, so we have a motion. It's been seconded to fund Tasso for $5,000, the sandwich shop for the full $10,000, and Phoenix Books for $5,000. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries, and Alderwoman Mattis recuses herself. Yep. Thank you, Brennan.
Thank you.
All right, so we are on to reports of select committees. We have nothing. Reports of representatives. We have nothing. Petitions, letters, miscellaneous communication. We have nothing. Board of Control Commissioners. We have nothing. Unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board? Alderman Garuso.
I'm sorry, my office just contacted me and I wasn't paying attention. I got a request. I don't know what's up, but Jack Coolig from the Italian American Club asked about the licenses. Have they been sent out, or is there any delay, or I don't know, maybe they haven't checked the mail or something, you know, the liquor licenses? He asked me that he was waiting for the liquor license for the Italian American Club.
Italian American on West Street, Sam?
No, that's on Grove Street. West Street's the Italian Aid.
So on Grove Street, I did receive their application. It's gone before the DLC. Sometimes with those clubs, when they do changes of the directors and stuff, it can set them off a little bit. But the state has been very proactive about extending everyone's license. So I don't know of anybody out there, unless they're intentionally not open, that is not given the opportunity to extend right now. But I can check tomorrow for them and see where it's at. But at this point in time, I don't think the state's in too big of a hurry because unfortunately bars and restaurants may be the last thing that gets reopened for the COVID stuff.
Right.
But they are extending them. You know, once it becomes a viable option for that, then even if they don't have the license, they should be good to go for a little bit as far as it is. But I'll check into that one specifically for you tomorrow and get back to you.
Okay, no problem. I was in his store the other day and he said that they hadn't received it and that it's probably good for all the downtown restaurateurs and bars to know that. So thank you very much. Very informed,
Yep.
You know, good information.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Hearing and seeing none, we are on to miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business. Alderman Clifford.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for everybody. I got a call last week from CJ Abatel, and like everyone else, he wants to, you know, get opened as soon as possible and follow all the protocols, of course. He's, you know, considered extending the deck, but that's a zoning issue, and he would have to go through the zoning procedure and everything as far as a grievance process. And that involves time. He wanted to put, like, thinking about some kind of an enclosed tent, but it is enclosed and something like in the parking lot. So I know that we've worked with, obviously, with the downtown business people. And I think he is outside of the DRB. Am I correct in that, Brendan?
Yes, he's outside of the special benefit system.
So, I mean, I was just wondering if anyone had a suggestion as to how he might be able to, you know, kind of expedite his process. Here's a guy that's been in the business and sitting in the city of Rutland for 43 years. So I'm just going to throw that out there and see if there's any, Brendan, if you have any ideas of how maybe someone could contact him. And
Sure. I mean, I can answer that. I think the conversation kind of started out around the downtown, but I'm certainly willing and interested in working with any, you know, restaurant or other food type establishment that would like to try to expand seating to be able to, you know, obviously create as much revenue as they can when they're allowed to open. So I'm certainly happy to talk to CJ and kind of facilitate, or I don't know if he's reached out to Tara at the Building and Zoning yet, but she's obviously very helpful in trying to work with businesses. You know, that might be a quicker step than going through me to Tara, would be just to have him connect with her directly, and I can follow up as well.
All right,
I think, if I may, I think he's got to reach out to the liquor inspector as well as to what he can and can't do outside and receive an outside consumption permit.
yeah, he has done that, yes.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
It's Henry Heck here. I've spoken with CJ as well, and as Alderwoman Davis was noting, that was the first thing I stated from him, was that you need to go to DLC to see about expanding your outside consumption. He's looking for picnic tables and stuff. So I really believe, and unfortunately, when CJ came and I spoke with him on Friday, he said he hadn't gotten any calls back from DLC Officer Mike Davidson. Mike's on vacation. So that was the reason why, and I hadn't gotten the chance to just let CJ know that was happening, but I think he will hear back from them. So I don't think it's as complicated as he's kind of making it out. CJ just wants to be up and ready to go. So the day that he can do it, he can, of course, be up and running. So, but DLC without question would be my first avenue to send him to, because I think they're not going to, they're not going to give him any, I don't know what the word I'm trying to, any trouble basically on expending his outside consumption. It's just a matter of what he wants to do, explaining it to them. And then I know with Donald across the street, DLC wanted him to get approval from the city in regards. So he sent me some papers that I need to forward on to DLC, letting them know that the city has no problems with Root's expanding his outside consumption out there as long as he had his park permit from Kim Peters and stuff. So it's just a matter of us kind of giving them their blessings if everyone's okay with that, which I felt that the board would be based upon everything that you were doing through the BIAP and stuff.
Thanks, Henry.
You got it.
Any other miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business?
I hate to do it because it's been so much
Alderman
fun.
Russo.
I hate to do it because it's been so much fun, but how about a motion to adjourn?
Well, we have an executive session now.
That's right. I forgot. I'm getting
I
old.
appreciate it. Hearing nothing
Mr.
else,
Chair. Mr. Chair.
Alderman Clifford. Alderman DePoy.
Thanks. Hey, I live as you all know, I live at the corner of Stratton Road and Killington Avenue. There was another bad accident that occurred at that intersection just before I left town a couple of weeks ago, and I would like to refer to the traffic committee. That intersection, it's been the scene of many accidents. I mean, accidents that have shaken my house. And it apparently, I don't know if I'm just home at the right times these days and I'm witnessing more of these accidents, or if there are actually more occurring. And my is that a red flashing light at the intersection might help to wake some people up that they need to stop, because a lot of cars have been just plain blowing the intersection. And an Audi mini SUV was literally shoved over 100 feet and up onto the lawn across the street. And I mean, there's just been, I've seen the jaws of life used there. A lady hit my tree on my corner. This all in the last couple of years, and there's been many other like more minor fender benders. So I'd like to refer the some kind of safety measures to the traffic committee for Killington Avenue and Stratton Road.
I'll second, yeah.
All right, we have a motion that's been seconded to refer the intersection of Stratton and Killington to the Traffic Safety Committee. Is there any further discussion or debate?
I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.
I was just gonna say I can just go ahead and add it to the agenda, Tom. The only other thing is, though, I'm not sure the Traffic Safety Committee hasn't met recently, but I can certainly add it to the agenda, or have it added to the agenda.
Yeah, that would be great. And I mean, when it does meet again, that's fine. I was planning on calling Chief Kilcullen also, and as well as Commissioner Wennberg, but I mean, it's certainly something that I think needs to be addressed. There's been some, I haven't actually witnessed the actual collisions, but I can hear them when they happen right in my house. I come running out, and there have been some, I tell you, some pretty frightening accidents that have been happening there lately, and I think it needs to be addressed.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion that's been seconded to refer this to Traffic Safety Committee. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Alderman DePoy. Any other miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business before we move into the executive session? Hearing and seeing none. Attorney Bloomer, do you have the language for us?
Yes. So the first motion is to find, with respect to a discussion of the negotiation of a contract, that premature general public knowledge regarding the negotiation would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the board's position on the contract provisions to be negotiated.
So
moved.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Attorney Bloomer?
Okay, and then a motion to enter into executive session with the inclusion of the mayor, recreation department superintendent, treasurer, and city attorney to discuss the negotiation of a real estate purchase and regarding the negotiation of a contract as allowed under Title 1, Section 313A2 and Title 1, Section 313A1A, respectively.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. We will move into executive session.